Well, welcome everyone to tonight's industry hour. Just want to let everyone know that we are recording this session. We'll post it up on our YouTube channel and as hopefully our Spotify channel as well. And I'm going to share my screen. We can get started. We'll go away. Cool. All right. So tonight we are featuring industrial and management engineering. And it goes by a few different acronyms. So if we kind of bop around them, they all mean the same thing. So on campus, you'll hear IME a lot. There's also ISYE, which is the course code for most of the courses. ISYE, some people in the department will say that. And then there's MGTE to make it even more confusing for paperwork and things. That's what we use. So a lot of different things, but IME is probably the most popular you'll hear. Tonight, here's kind of our agenda. We're going to kind of do an overview for the CCPD, or the Center for Career and Professional Development. We have 2 alumni and 1 current student with us, and we'll do a formal interview with them to get to know them, their experience as industrial engineer, and what happens next is with our current student, Anna. So we'll have a Q&A session as well. If there's any questions, just throw them in the chat. We can go from there. So first, the CCPD, we have an engineering career counselor, Kristen Kettering. She can help you with all things career and professional development. Biggest plug is that tomorrow she's doing a career fair prep. So next week is our career fair. And I know a lot of you are first-year students and are wondering, I'm a first-year student, what am I going to do at a career fair? Basically, what we tell students is to go to the career fair, go to some employers and say, what would you want to see on my resume? What would you make me a good applicant for your job posting? So, of course, Handshake is where you'll find a lot of that information as well. But going in person is what we recommend, just seeing what companies are out there. But tomorrow, Kristen is helping out all of our first-year students with that as well in the Ansel Lounge. So a little breakdown of the CCPD. So with Kristen, you're able to do some major career exploration, developing application materials, job internship search. A lot of it can also revolve around Arch and your away experience. They have drop-in hours Monday through Friday, workshops. They can do professional headshots. They have a Discord server for other information. They also have a clothing closet, so that can provide some options for you too before the career fair as well. Handshake is definitely our main source of information when it comes to job searching. Over 16,000 jobs I think are in there right now, so definitely take a look in there. Use the filter option too. It can help find not just jobs and internships, but I believe more professors are putting the research directed research on there as well, so take a look there. This way you can see it posted, or you can obviously contact the professor directly. Interviewing, a lot of other things too to help navigate the career search and the job hunt. Again, this is what Kristen is here for, so highly recommend reaching out to her. You can make an appointment in Handshake as well, primary source for all things CCPD. So here are just some of the places that we have some relations with. Some of these can look super familiar to you. Some of them may not. They could be at the career fair next week, so definitely take a look. At Handshake, they're going to list all the employers as well. So here are just some of examples. I know we hear Regeneron a lot. It's their local insurer. They also have some other offices around the state and probably globally. Deloitte, all these things look familiar, but definitely follow up in the career fair and see what's out there. SABIC is literally in between me and Kim, so we see that sign a lot. Okay, so this is the most recent average reported salaries. So again, this is just those who are reporting. This could be a wide range here, but for an IME, the average salary is 76,000, and then there's a range 72 to 80. But this can always fluctuate. And something I might add is that some of these companies may have like sign-on bonuses or other things as well that you might want to look out for when you're negotiating for your salary too, because we always encourage that. But this is just kind of a breakdown of our majors that were reported for the class of 23. All right. So I'm going to have our panelists introduce themselves so I don't ruin anyone's name and make sure that they have opportunity to share. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I'm going to start it with Jim. If you can give us a little intro, a little background about yourself, where you're working currently, and your RPI, a brief of your RPI experience.
So thank you, Kelly. It's a pleasure to obviously have an opportunity to talk to students. So, yeah, believe it or not, I mean, it was 38 years ago that I graduated from RPI, which I still can't believe. So I'm a 1986 graduate. I actually got my master's in 1988 as well, from there. But I went to work for IBM coming out of IME. I had an internship at IBM. It was more of the manufacturing side of it. We were, at the time, IBM manufactured kind of the world's largest computer. So I did that for several years, a traditional manufacturing support role, making sure parts were on time, making sure we had enough resources to execute the volumes that we're pushing through the manufacturing facility, that type of thing. I kind of had a desire to learn more. I was building a computer, but I didn't really understand what customers were using them for. I don't know why I'm going to go this segue, but an interesting story is that what happened was that we pushed most of our volume. A lot of our volume happened in the fourth quarter, and they asked engineering, any of the engineers that were supporting that, because they couldn't keep up with the volume. If after our engineering job, we wanted to go out and work on the line, and we would get paid overtime for it. And I was like, of course, right? I'll go. It's a good way to learn it and understand it. And I happened to be put in an area that was putting covers on computers. And lo and behold, an order came through for RPI. And I remember looking at the order, and I'm like, this is going to Troy, New York. This is going to RPI. I mean, we were shipping machines all over the world. So I just found it funny from that standpoint. But fast forward, I got sold to AT&T in 1998. And so I've been here since, and I've gotten into telecommunications, the IT field. Right now, I run a NOC, a Network Operations Center, and I have responsibility for about 14 million customers who have internet access at their home. So not AT&T isn't offering internet service everywhere, right? We're primarily in like New York, we don't really offer it. We're starting to offer something that's called AT&T Internet Air, which is basically using the mobility network, right, for your cell phone, because you're either wired to your house or you're wired to a cell phone, right? So what AT&T Internet Air is doing, it's using the same spectrum that we use for our mobile carriers. So there's no wire connection at all. You just plug in a little globe in your office and you're off and running. So it's been an exciting space in terms of just watching the internet grow and fiber to the home, streaming. That whole world has been kind of my life ever since I left RPI.
Cool. Thanks, Jim. Colleen, you want to give us a little bit more about your background?
Sure. So I'm not quite as long ago as an alumni as Jim, but close. I am approaching 19 years since I graduated. So next year will be my 20-year, and that's wild to me because it does seem like literally just yesterday I was there. When I graduated, I placed out and I found a job at the former United Technologies. We are no longer United Technologies, and I can talk about that kind of through my career journey. But I started my first job out of school was in a rotational leadership development program for operations. So kind of went into that at UTC. Did 3 different rotations in quality, supply chain, and manufacturing. And then I went and placed out from that program. It was a 2-year program, and that program still runs today. So if anybody's interested, I'm happy to give you more information. It's a great sort of entry point into the workforce, targets straight out of college or undergrads for those type of leadership development programs. I placed out at a company called Carrier, Carrier Air Conditioning and Refrigeration, which was under the UTC umbrella. I worked there for 7 or so years in a variety of different operations roles. I worked on new product development. I worked in supply chain as a commodity manager and worked in sort of global quality. And then I transitioned over to the UTC corporate headquarters office. And my role there was I was a chief of staff to the senior vice president of operations of UTC. And that was the last job I ever had in operations. I decided sort of after that this was not what I wanted to do. But I had such a variety of different experiences and a lot of different things that I learned along the way that sort of 11 years in my career, I was able to take a sharp left turn into the world of human resources, and was able to find something where I had a bunch of skills that I had learned over the course of my career in vendor management and contract negotiations and technology enablement, that I was able to find a place that a hole within HR that they couldn't find anybody that wanted to do it because it was really like an ops job in HR. So that was how I sort of made this career transition, running learning operations for UTC. I kind of picked up some of the HR knowledge along the way and managed our overall performance management process, our employee engagement process. And then in 2020, UTC spun Carrier and Otis off into standalone companies. So Carrier Air Conditioning, Otis Elevators, they are now standalone Fortune 200-ish companies, and merged with Raytheon. And that new company is called RTX. We were founded, it was Raytheon Technologies, now it's RTX. Founded really in like April 3rd, 2020. So days after the global pandemic hit, which was just truly has been a wild ride since. Bringing these two huge companies together and kind of creating this new aerospace and defense conglomerate, and really with the sort of vision of being the best A&D company in the world. And my role now is I lead talent, still in the HR space, for our digital technology and enterprise services business. So I've had a lot of different experiences that, I still credit the way that I learned and the way that I was taught to think and how I developed as an industrial engineer. I think that background has been supremely useful to me in my career and my ability to sort of make these very complex connections that not a lot of other people would necessarily see. So it's been fun, but probably different than a lot of people are used to. So happy to be here today.
Thanks, Colleen. Anna, you're up.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm a junior industrial and management engineer at RPI. And a little bit about me. I currently work, and I've been working since about May, under Dr. Nima Amadi in human factors research, with centerline and intervention procedures. And so I really liked that work in data analytics. And I'm super excited to continue for the rest of the semester. Outside of that, I'm also part of the RPI ISYE chapter, which is the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers. And so it's a newly refounded chapter at RPI. And basically how we structured it is we have 3 different subsections of the organization, all really with the goal of helping and making a community within industrial engineering at RPI. So we hold various events, academic help, and academic help including tutoring for specific like IME classes, and then our professional side where we connect to various industries and host different type of events, and then also our social side, and where we have different events throughout the semester just to really create a sense of community within the industrial engineering engineers at RPI. Outside of that, I'm also part of the Polytechnic, the school newspaper, and an organization called Engineering Ambassadors, which is a group of engineers who go to different schools and help engage kids with engineering topics.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we'll move on to our first question. So we'll start with Jim and Colleen. Jim, what made you decide to be an industrial and management engineer?
I think initially I was looking to go into chemical engineering, but I went to a career night, and the speaker basically said, chemical engineering's hard finding jobs these days. Kind of like what Colleen had mentioned, where she saw that the IME job placement was much higher. So it's like, well, if it's a tough job market for chemical engineering, maybe I need to think this. So then it was just a process of elimination, and I would say that I kind of had a flair for finance, and basically I never viewed myself as the typical engineering student per se, right? I was certainly not. If it came to mechanical drawing or anything like that, I would run away from it, right? I mean, that was not me. So I didn't have that typical, nuts and bolts. I'm going to be an engineer and I'm going to tell you how to build things, and that really wasn't me. So it was it seemed like a natural fit. It just had the flexibility that could mix people. It goes back to the traditional 4 I's, I think they call it, right? Or 4 M's: materials, money, manpower, and methods. Right? That's what the classical IE definition is. And so I think it was just a mix of that. And from there it was, it just blossomed, right? It just felt very natural. And you still were an engineering student, right? You took all your engineering classes and gutted your way through them. But once your senior classes came around, you were doing things that were a little bit more realistic, I thought, and much more broad scoped than, taking a specific class in a specific discipline. So that's how I ended up there. And I would tell you, all these years later, I would do it again and encourage anybody that's vaguely interested to seriously consider it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Jim. Mine is similar. I was a biomedical engineering dropout. I had a sole focus when I was graduating from high school that I was either going to go be a biomedical engineer or a pharmacist. Don't know how I came up with either one of those options. Only applied to schools that had those 2 degrees. RPI doesn't have pharmacy, obviously. At some point, I realized pharmacy was like a 7-year program. I was like, oh, I'm not interested in that 4 years. But really was trying to find something that, had a high level of job placement. And I agree, Jim, like as I got into some of those junior, senior year IME, like specific electives, I was like, oh, I can see how this is applied to things. Like you're talking about production line layouts, you're talking about EH&S, you're talking about like real things. Cause I had a hard time like figuring out in my earlier years and in some of the core classes, like do you go and do this at a job? Like, is someone going to be like making me do differential equations? If so, like, I am not interested in that. But once I got into some of the electives, I was like, oh, okay, I see how someone with this background and these skills would like add value to a company. Because that was always the hard thing in my mind. I'm like, I don't understand how I would ever add value to a company. And those classes for me really started to make it crystal clear of like, okay, what does a job even look like when you get out of college? And I wouldn't look back. It was one of the better decisions I've made. So
Cool. Thank you. And Anna, why did you decide to come to IME land instead of your previous major?
Yeah, so I came in as a mechanical engineer. I feel like many others, I know I wanted to do engineering and then didn't really know much about the different kinds. I knew I was like, okay, I don't really want to do biomedical. I didn't really want to do chemical, and I kind of just landed on mechanical. But I did come in knowing I wasn't 100% sure. And so what really brought me to industrial engineering was the math and the human factors. And so I remember asking Kelly in the office one day, what has the most math? Because I really like math. Um, and she started to bring up industrial engineering because of optimization and data analytics. And that is really what drew me in to industrial engineering. I really liked statistics in high school and knew I wanted to pursue that more. And that was not something I could really do in other majors. And just like Colleen and Jim have both said, I love the classes that I'm taking. And I really do see that human factors aspect in everything that I'm doing. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Okay, so Jim and Colleen, we'll start with Jim. What is the day-to-day function of your job? Wake up, you open your laptop. What's the first thing you do?
Colleen, do you want to go first this time?
sure. I go to a lot of meetings. I wake up, I try to exercise, I try to eat breakfast, and then it's a lot of meetings for me. A lot of my job is talking to people, and like kind of, it's almost like human factors on steroids, Anna. So like, I am not just thinking about the human factor in the production line. I am trying to literally predict how will this human react to this news that we might, we're going to move their job, or we're not considering them for something, or do they even want to go and do this? So it's like I've taken it to the nth degree with like trying to predict how people will react to things. I do a lot of understanding of like what the business needs are, where people are struggling with development, whether it be leadership skills or technical skills. And then one of the main things, and what I'm, it's the time of year that I'm working on this now, is I'm really working closely with my senior leaders on planning for the future. And so we're doing a lot of succession planning. It is not like the show on HBO, thankfully, right? We don't have that aspect of it, but it is really saying, okay, we have these big senior leadership positions and we have all these people. What are the experiences that they need? And how can we stretch them and grow them to take on these bigger roles? How can we sort of place them into experiences or give them stretch projects or assignments to make them grow faster? So as I break this down, I never actually thought that this was, related to industrial engineering, but I do think that there's an aspect of it of me being able to see, all right, so if we take you and we give you this and we give you that, and this, we add time onto it, and we make sure you get coaching and feedback and training on that, can we make you into this super senior leader one day? And it's fun. I really, really like doing that because the human factor is a bit of an unknown. You never know how they're going to react, but if you have enough data, you can kind of guess.
Okay, so my day is simple. I have 14 million customers, and every day, every minute of every day, some of them are down. And I know what it was like to have two teenage daughters in my house when we didn't have internet access. And God help us, we couldn't stream something that they would watch and I wanted nothing to do with. But so literally, I spend most of my time trying to get customers back up in service. So it's really, in a big picture, it's very interesting because customers, residential customers are connected to the internet. The new customers are connected with fiber. You hear 1G, 5G, what service you have, right? Older customers, which we still have a tremendous amount of older customers or DSL customers, they're still on copper, right? So everything eventually becomes fiber once it hits the core network out to the backbone of the internet. But getting from your home to the internet can either be fiber or copper. And I face some wild things. Car accidents that take out things that are in people's neighborhoods that we call them a D-slam. I can have 50 customers in a neighborhood down because some drunk hit it and, everybody's down. The local power utility, it has issues and your internet service goes down. And most of the time when you lose power, you know why you're down because you've lost power. Theft is a huge part of, you wouldn't think about it, but there's people stealing copper all the time. And when they steal copper, a lot of times we laid fiber right next to the copper. So they don't go in knowing what they're doing. They're just ripping. So, and then fiber cuts, just construction crews, boring crews, Department of Transportation. So I am constantly looking at every outage that I have that's going on across the United States. And like Colleen said, talking to a lot of people, like, how quickly can we get somebody there? No, I'm sorry. There's priority calls sometimes that have to be made. And somebody says, well, these customers have been down for 5 days. I'm like, I'm sorry, I've got 4,000 of them down around the corner. So go get the 4,000 back up and then we'll get back to the other ones, So, and in order to keep the network up and to keep the growth, we're a 7x24 business. So we run a cycle at night between midnight and 6 a.m. There's always activity going on to try to upgrade the network. So that's primarily where I focus my time, both growing the network, building the network, and then keeping customers in service.
We appreciate your service to do this call tonight. Thanks, Jim and Colleen. Going right back to both of you. What are your job titles and what job titles have you had or were most common in your industry? Jim, you want to go first? Go.
Colleen, I was going to say, no, I won't say that. So
now I'm curious.
Go ahead, Jim. What is your job title?
It was, of course, going to be beauty before age here. So, and you guys can guess who is who. So Colleen, why don't you kick this one off?
Sure. So my job title is I am the Director of Talent for Digital Technology and Enterprise Services. Job titles that I've had or have seen, I feel like for the most part, if I have to commonize where I see industrial engineers or people with industrial engineering backgrounds at my company and a big manufacturing company, will be one, the title of industrial engineer. That does exist. We utilize a lot of industrial engineers like on the shop floor, laying out and optimizing production or sort of working through a lot of that. We also see IMEs go into sort of manufacturing supervisor positions. So they'll be leading the production and overseeing the union workforce that's building the product. Some will go into supply chain. You can be a buyer, you can be a planner, you can be a commodity manager, you can, all of those types of roles. Quality, Six Sigma we have our own version of it, but that's another area where I think process improvement, those types of roles are very common and I think make a lot of sense for people with industrial engineering background. So I've done most of those at some point in my career. But yeah, those are the ones that come top of mind.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would say that my titles initially were, a basic junior industrial engineer, senior industrial engineer, staff industrial engineer, right in the early days. Then I got into management, so I was an associate director. I'm now what they call a director of technology. So people that work in my organization have technology support titles, because if you think of what we do, so there's an operations center. I've got people in Irving, Texas, in New Jersey, and in Bangalore, India. So all those 3 different locations where people are remotely able to log into a neighborhood device and say, okay, the card's down. We need to get somebody out to this location because the controller card has failed. So they have like a technology support title. And there's different levels of that. But again, the value that an IME degree gives you is it's so diverse. So I've seen people go into the IT field, and they may have some IT application owner type titles. I've seen some planning and process type titles. There's some of that. Product. There's usually when we launch another product, there's something called product engineering, and become product specialists. So I've seen some of those people have that. So for the most part, I would say inside of AT&T, you really can't go find an industrial engineering title. You won't find one, but you'll find a bunch of people that have the same degree, and we all kind of bond together. And there's this one, there's a forum that we all have, and everybody's got very different jobs, or they're in different parts of the business, whether it's supply chain or customer support or process improvements, those types of things. Yeah.
I was going to say that's really the beauty I find of this degree and this background, is that there are so many different paths you can take depending on what you're good at and what you're interested in and what doors are open at the time. Like there's a million different ways that you could go. And I could think back to some of the people that I graduated with that are all in very different spaces, but we all started at the same place. So that's what I really like about this degree. And I think this education is that it prepares you to go and do so many different things, more so than like chemical engineering I feel like is very niche. Biomedical engineering is very niche, in that there's only a few, certain companies that are going to hire with that skill set. But as a person who hires people, when I see industrial engineering, I'd be like, okay, so they've got some, they could you could kind of place them in a lot of different areas, because it's not, you get to learn, a lot about like many things. So I think that's why it's great.
It reminds me we have a lot of faculty in our humanities department or our management school, and all of them have some type of engineering background, and they choose to teach in this certain field. But I mean, it's a benefit for all of our students, because yes, they're taking a management class or they're taking a humanities class, and they may not see the real purpose in it, but lo and behold, the person probably teaching that class has some experience in engineering. So I think what RPI teaches is, you're not trying to be the specific thing, but we're giving you the skill set and the tools to navigate when you have a problem in front of you. What do? You want to use your resources. You want to use the hub that we have at our 100%. Faculty and our professors. So that's been helpful for me to see, especially with, our students too. But that reminded me a little bit there. Anna, let's ask you a question. So I know you had an internship at some point, or you're about to start one, right, for your away experience?
Yeah, so I only really have I have job experience and then research experience, and then I'm currently looking for away semester, like internship.
What was your research experience like? What did you do?
Yeah, so this past summer and into this semester, I'm doing human factors research with a professor in the industrial department. And I really like that research. We started off the summer collecting a little bit of data with doctors at Albany Medical Center. and we're actually going next week to get more data. And then we spent the summer processing all of the data and starting the analytics. And what we're doing for that is essentially figuring out different human factors, including like ergonomics and just various effort levels from the doctors into the different procedures, because the procedures are all kind of related, and to try and figure out the differences between them and maybe what we can improve later on.
Cool. Do you think any of the courses you've taken previously have helped you in that course? I guess more specifically, have there any tech electives or specific courses that have helped you get to that point?
Yeah, so the basic like industrial courses that are required definitely have helped me. Statistical analysis, information data systems in my research, for sure. And as I'm looking for more jobs in the spring, some of the tech electives that I've taken / are taking that I think will really help me is quality control, which I'm currently in. I was just working with a friend earlier today. Discrete event simulation I'm also in, and I think that is going to be a really, really helpful course. And I can't walk away without saying operations research methods, probably my favorite class at RPI. Definitely a toughie, but it was good. And that really taught some computational skills with like the computer by hand, and really just the core of industrial engineering is optimization. So doing all of that math by hand, understanding how it works is just super, super important. But for tech electives, I was told directly from my professor under research, he said, take quality control. And so I said, okay. And now I've really liked it so far.
Cool. That's good to know.
I was going to say, I think quality control is definitely one that you will use. I mean, even just being able to look at it, and that's a lot of it. Sometimes it's like, even as you get later in your career, sometimes you don't always necessarily have to be able to do it by hand, but when you do it by hand, you actually understand how it works, and you can look at it and be like, well, that's not right, or are you sure you did that right? Or at least understand what the data is telling you. And without having sort of some of those background classes, like that's really what it's about. Being able to look at something and be like, I understand this, versus like maybe having, like not always having to go through the effort to do it. But if you can do it, then you can understand it. So
yeah. Another one that comes to mind, I can't even believe I forgot, was engineering project management. I'm also in that class, and
huge.
It's so big.
Project management is probably one of the most desired skills when you get into sort of a business. If you can do the technical, but you can also manage a project, and you can, you have to meet deadlines, you've got to meet budget, right? So like having that skill set definitely makes you more well-rounded as an engineer.
Yeah.
Brings in that management piece.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense that it is the combined degree that they've kind of created.
And I think being able to translate things to people that don't understand it, right? In a lot of cases, when you're going and talking to a senior leader, they might not have an engineering background, but if you can distill this in a way that they will understand it, then that's half the battle, maybe more than half.
Every day.
Yeah.
Students explain to me what they're learning, and I'm like, good, teach me,
right.
Tell me what this means. So that means they are learning and understanding it, so it helps all around. Okay, so this is for all of you. What did or currently for Anna, does your undergrad experience look like? Did you do internships or any professional groups? We kind of talked about undergrad research, but is there anything we haven't touched on so far that you were involved in your undergrad experience and that you would recommend potentially to a student? We'll start with you, Colleen.
So somehow, no, I did not do any internships or co-ops. I don't know how I got away with it, and I don't know how I got a job without doing that. I look at my resume today and be like, this company would never hire me today. Like I would not get in. But it was a different time. I was pretty involved on campus. I was very involved in Greek life when I was at RPI. So yeah, I mean, I think that really shaped like my social sort of construct at RPI, and I still have lots of friends that I still connect with from those days. But getting that real life, experience, and I know that's built into the way that we expect people to graduate now too. Like that's a requirement, which I think is absolutely critical. To be able to sort of succeed in the business world is to have that actual experience. So I've doubled down on making sure like internships, co-ops, like assignments that to get that actual experience, because also that's the best interview we could possibly ask for, right? I can make a snap judgment on somebody that I've met for 2 hours, but if I have seen them or I have someone who they worked for 3, 4, 6 months, the interview is just icing on the cake. We saw what you can do, so that's your best foot in.
Coming directly from HR themselves.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. Jim, is there anything that you would want to add?
Yeah, I honestly wasn't all that involved on campus, but I would say that the internship, I was able to get an internship in a summer co-op job at IBM, and that was at the time it was just my cousin worked there, and I sent my resume in. He found me somebody to send it to. They called me up and they hired me, and I was like, okay, I'll be there on this date, and I showed up and didn't have any form of transportation except a bicycle. That was interesting. Um, so made my way through, but yeah, but obviously being getting industry experience helps a tremendous amount, right? And I know it's hard. Sometimes it's hard because I've tried to, even at AT&T, I've tried to place some people at times, and it's difficult. But if you can get it, then certainly go for it.
I think you brought up an interesting point and he kind of joked about it, but like, hey, your cousin got your resume through the door. A lot of times, like, I think that's great. It's about who you know and growing your network. Because if you think about the way that the job market is now, it's all online. And like we see, and I'm not, we'll put a posting up and we'll have to close it within 24 hours because we've had thousands of applicants. So how are you, like, how are people rising to the top? There's getting through the ATS, there's having a good resume, but 90% of the time, it's about having that personal connection to somebody. And it doesn't have to be a family member and it doesn't have to be a friend, but it can be somebody, going to the career fair or coming to these types of events or networking with alumni. Like, I've had many RPI students reach out to me on LinkedIn being like, hey, I'm a graduating senior. I'd love to pick your brain about something. And like, I'm always down to have that conversation. I'm sure, Jim, if someone reached out to you, you'd be the same way too,
Sure.
right? So that's, I think, one of the most important things that goes unsaid is that your experiences and your education can stand on its own, but like 90% of the time it's about who you know and having them like helping get it, using that network to sort of get your foot in the door.
For sure. Anna, is there any extracurriculars you wanted to plug or advertise or share that you haven't said yet?
Yeah, I think I mostly explained it at the beginning, but I would totally recommend to anyone in industrial engineering at RPI, the ISC chapter or IISC chapter. It's the Institute of Industrial and Systems Industrial and Systems Engineers. We have a chapter at RPI, essentially just there to make and build the community of industrial engineering at RPI. We have 3 sectors: our academics, our professional, and our social events. It's a whole lot of fun.
Cool. We'll stick with you, Anna. We're gonna touch on, some courses are a little tougher, or known to be tough at RPI. What was a course that you struggled in, and what resources did you utilize?
Yeah. So in my first year, I think a lot of industrial engineers, because it's just, there's a reason we go into industrial engineering. And that reason was definitely not relating to my love of chemistry. And by love, I mean, I did not really do that well in chemistry. And so that course was tough. And what helped me a lot was like the tutoring. So ALAC, not ALAC. There's ALAC tutoring for a lot of the freshman courses, but specifically for chem, there's IPAC. That's the course, because RPI loves those acronyms. IPAC tutoring was definitely something that helped me, speaking one-on-one to mentors who get credit to be there and help students. And that was really, really helpful for me. And then flash forward to this past summer, my Archway, operations research methods is also known to be a tough one for industrial engineers. And what helped me with that was really just going to office hours and asking questions, even after classes, even after lectures where I feel like I understood it and I was doing the homework and I also was pretty sure, but maybe a quick question, I would still go and discuss with my professor. And that's a habit I'm trying to get better into. And yeah, so that I just totally recommend. Additionally, working with people and collaboration is very important, and studying together.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Colleen, Jim, any courses that you recall that you struggled in, or is something that you use today?
Chemistry, physics. I still don't understand vectors. I managed to never understand vectors, and I never use them. So we're good there. Any of the basic engineering classes I struggled with. I think the ones that I actually used earlier in my career were the electives.
For sure.
I'm probably dating myself, but back in the 80s, they made us all take lumped parameter systems. It was a course called lumps. Everybody said you go to RPI, you have to take your lumps.
The one that was the worst for me was LITAC, which I heard last time I was up there, they don't make industrial engineers take anymore. I'm probably the reason why, to be honest with you. Because I was a mess in that class.
I've heard that. LITAC, I've heard.
I
think
bad.
Another major still does it.
No, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the professor that I had in that class, I saw him a few years ago. I was like, that class was awful. I don't know why you make industrial engineers take it. He's like, after you, we don't make them take it anymore. Thanks. He's like, it's an elective. You can opt in, but it's not for industrial engineers. So I was like, thank God.
But look where we are today. You've made it through. We just have to get through the first part, because we have your first year, and then you get to do the fun stuff like electives and free electives, which kind of leads to our next question. What were those electives that you chose? And anyone can start. Colin, we can start with you.
Sure.
Do you remember an elective
sure
that you
Sure do. I have a theater arts minor.
Really?
Sure do.
I don't think we have that anymore.
Yeah, I might be the only person that actually has a theater arts minor from RPI. Paulina Shore was the woman who taught all the classes. She was married to somebody, one of the professors, and just taught theater classes. And I took every single theater class that she had, enough to, one, boost my GPA, and two, get a theater arts minor. So
Nice.
that's the electives I took. Do they help me in my career? Debatable.
Debatable. HR? Sure.
Yeah. Presentations. I think I got feedback very early in my career from my first boss, who said, he's like, you walk into a room and you sound like you know what you're talking about. I know you're full of it. I know you have no idea what you're talking about, but nobody else knows that. So acting ability, I guess, is important. In retrospect, probably all of the classes that Anna mentioned are the ones that I should have been taken and would recommend people take over theater arts. I mean, it's good to have a little bit of fun every now and again, but
yeah, it's a great plug for the Haas classes and our humanities breakdown at
Yeah.
RPI. There's a specific
Balances you
thing you have
out.
to do.
Like, yeah, like to have that balance and to like take in sort of appreciation of other things and like maybe have something that's not quite as intense. I think is helpful, but yeah.
Cool. Jim, any thoughts?
The one thing that comes to mind is I just have gone through just recently over the weekend. There was a Communication Workers of America that I depend upon, union workforce, 17,000 members in the Southeast, had gone out on strike. Probably this was our 4th week. It was the longest work stoppage in AT&T's history, at least since the early 1980s. I had never been through anything like that, but I remember as an elective, there was a labor relations class. And there was a lot of things that I learned then that I wish I had actually been able to recall, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember there was a guy by the name of Barry Taylor who taught it. I don't remember. He was a legendary person out of the School of Management at the Lally School. I'm sure he's no longer at the school, but yeah, the labor relations class that I took, I remember something that was, it probably would have helped me in the last couple of weeks had I taken the class, a refresher, and remembered some of it.
That would have helped me early in my career when I was working on the shop floor and sort of, all of that. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I think if anyone that's I don't know if that class is still offered. If it is, that would be fantastic. But I think anybody like pondering going like into a manufacturing route, getting labor relations, an understanding of it, because it can kind of throw you, right, Jim? And I feel like every union has sort of different rules and different bylaws, and
the grievance processes and all
grievance
these
processes.
things, yeah.
You can't touch the parts. Like you touch the part, you're filing a grievance against you. Striking, right? Like I've luckily never had to work while there was an active strike going on, but have been sort of in environments like either right before or right after a strike. And I think that's a reality of a lot of the manufacturing and service industry, truthfully. And having that knowledge would be super helpful.
Yeah.
There might be something in management. I'll have to double check, but I think there's something similar. So if a student wants to ask, we'll gladly find it or find something similar.
Yeah.
That is really valuable.
Super valuable.
Anna, any free electives? Haas, anything you want to plug from your experience?
Yeah, so I'm also a media and culture minor. So Colleen, I'm joining you in the School of Haas. I really like that minor. I was actually right before this doing some photography, because I knew that the sun is probably going to be down by the time that this ends. And then kind of just the other like tech electives that I was mentioning earlier, I totally recommend project management, quality control.
The tech electives in IME, I think, are some of the more fun ones too. So even in other majors that are coming in and ask, I always plug the IME ones, because I don't know if they get that type of experience too in their other disciplines. So Emily Liu definitely calls it multidisciplinary for a reason, with a lot of different requirements. But I think now it's kind of, wrap it up a little bit. It's our last advice and wisdom. So, Colleen, we can start with you. What advice would you give a first-year student, or even a first-year student trying to decide IME, but also those looking for internships and things too? With your background, I think that would be useful too.
So I would say I kind of go back to some of my earlier points, right? Like the IME discipline is truly something that you can take and make your own. I think there's enough structure to it that'll teach you the fundamentals, and then with sort of the electives and the opportunities in the industry to go in so many different directions depending on what you're good at and what you like doing. As like sort of advice after that, right? It's like find the thing that makes you happy and that you want to get up every day and do it. Like a job is a job, and we have good days and we have bad days, but it's so much more fulfilling when you actually are excited by the things that you're working on and feel empowered and feel good at it and feel good at at a company or in an environment that's going to support and promote you. So find that culture fit. Find that place that's going to let you be you and let you grow it and develop, and then you'll be good.
Thanks, Colleen. Jim, any advice for our first year students?
Yeah, I don't want to just keep beating the same drum, but the multidisciplinary facets of the degree are where its bread and butter is. That's the value, and the training, just the when you're at RPI and you're surrounded by other students that you don't realize how rare that is, that you're with a lot of intelligent, smart people, a lot of people that understand the math, a lot of people that if you got there, you got through calculus, you've taken your statistics, you've taken quality control, right? You're surrounded by a lot of smart people. And I don't mean to say disparagingly when you go into the workforce that you're not going to have that same experience, but you're going to have people that have no idea about, what Six Sigma is, or what's one standard deviation away from the mean, or those types of things. So it's just a mix of both the technical training that you have, but I'll also stress the people side of it, because I would say that I spend probably 80% of my time negotiating with people, talking to them, communicating with them. How can we make this work? We've got constraints that are in the opposite direction, or there's disagreements. How do we get through this? What's going to make us together? Those types of things, negotiating skills. So anything that can help with the people side of it and your ability to communicate effectively. Because I will tell you that early in my career, I'll say confrontational management was what we were taught. It was like, no, I'd say things to people that today I would shudder if I ever said that to somebody. I'd insult their intelligence or something like that, and that's not the world that I live in today, right? So I call that Jim 1.0. I'm now Jim like 4.0. Now it's like, how can I help you? How can I help you? And what's the problem? And how do we? So when I would get angry, which I would in the past, I found ways to try to harness that energy, and take, because anytime I got angry, the result was never good. It was never positive. It never led to anything that was gonna get us through the problem, right? I just end up having to apologize to somebody. So it's those types of human aspect skills. If you enjoy that, if you enjoy working with other people, then this is a career path that won't steer you wrong.
Jim, I'm going to use that line. Our freshmen are 1.0. And then by senior year, they're going to be a new version of themselves and realize all the different options that IME has to offer too, because they sometimes think it's only in this box or in this box. But I say that to my other majors all the time. You only know a little bit right now, but once you get to those tech electives and the cool stuff, you're going to realize kind of your fit.
You look at me and Jim, we have the same degree, and we went we are in completely opposite paths, but have shared experiences, right? So it's, with anything, it's not just IME, but we'll say it's just IME because we want to sell it, right?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, what you do, in college and your first job out of college is not going to define your life. It's just one step in the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, any last advice for our first year students?
I would first plug that with ISYE, with the chapter, we host, or we give out the certification for Green Belt for Six Sigma and Lean. This semester we're doing Six Sigma registration. Deadline I believe is tomorrow though, so, but I might be incorrect. But it's coming up, really soon. And then Lean we usually do in the spring. So that's something I definitely recommend doing I did both of the programs, and you learn a lot that you also see in classes now that I'm in quality control. A lot of Six Sigma I did learn then, and I'm learning again now. But I totally recommend that.
Thanks, Anna. And thank you all. We're going to wrap up here. Thank you to those who joined us tonight, too. Any questions, let me know. If you're considering the IME major, you can find my contact on the ISYE Hub website. But truly, thank you all for your time, and have a great evening.
If you want to join ISYE, message me.
Yeah, message Anna. Sounds good. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Thanks, Tim.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.